Hello and welcome back to EPIC44 with Intel, sponsored by Overclockers and Asus Republic of Gamers. I am your play-by-play caster for today, Quicks, and I am joined by Mads Bear as always, my colour caster.
Back again.
How are you feeling?
Not bad. Obviously, I did the first best of 3 this morning. Feeling good after it, you know. We went to 3 maps. Well, a few, I wouldn't say stops here and there, you know. 3-13 and brought it back second game. Second game was brilliant. But we're back. And we've got a pretty good lineup, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, what better lineup can you ask for the upper bracket finals of our VALORANT tournament sponsored by Asus Republic of Gamers? I mean, you can't ask for 2 better teams.
Yeah, I mean, we got WILLYG Palace back again. They've been waiting for a little while, I do believe. We had a long best of 3 over the last few hours, but 7F did make it through to the upper bracket finals, so that will be the 2 teams playing today. Both teams have a lot of tier 2 players.
Yep.
So we'll be seeing some high-level gameplay, I hope.
Fingers crossed.
Maybe not so much, maybe a few fun rounds here and there as well. I know all the players are very good friends, so we might be seeing quite a few nice plays as well.
Yeah, definitely. But like you said, I mean, 9 out of 10 players in this match have played in tier 2. So even what they consider to be a fun mess about play is way better than anything we could ever hope to do, and way better than what most of what we've shown on stream has been so far, if we're honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had there's a few players. I mean, I believe Corsa and actually played on WILLYG last Epic.
Yeah.
So little mix up, you know, maybe a little beef. Who knows?
Maybe
I
some
doubt it.
insider trading going on these teams over here. Might need to look into that.
Yeah. We've got Cubfu, who used to play for KS. Brilliant Cypher player.
Okay.
Like, just so reliable. Unbelievable. We saw WILLYG last game. I mean, they had a little bit of a rough second game, but that's the only map they dropped so far.
Yeah. For the whole LAN. They dropped 1 map.
Yeah.
And they didn't go down without a fight either.
Yeah, and last Epic, the only map they dropped was in the final. So they're doing all right.
They're doing okay for themselves. They're doing okay.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, and you know, we've only had 4 maps so far.
Yeah.
Currently, you know, we've had Haven, Pearl, what was it?
Lotus,
and then we had 1 bind.
We had Abyss.
No, we had Abyss.
We had Abyss.
No, we did. Okay.
We've had 5 out
so
of 7
we're getting
maps,
there.
but there are still 2 that we're missing. You know, I want to see some Fracture.
See some
I know that like 99% of UK players don't like Fracture, but can you just pick it for me, please? Because I want to see Fracture.
I'll respect the no split pick. I respect that. I don't like that map.
Yes. I also respect it.
Yes.
Yes. But also, with Taeho's release, with how strong he is on Split, I also kind of want to see what these guys can do with him on Split, you know? I can look past Split just to see the creativity with Taeho, you know? But, I mean, what kind of maps are we really expecting to see?
Much as I hate to say it, we're probably going to see Haven. It's a best of 3.
Yeah, maybe
After
Lotus.
Gone, it's
Maybe another
Stop
Lotus,
with the
you know?
3-sided map.
You know, because we've not seen enough Lotus during this tournament.
No, we haven't actually.
Because it's only been the only map we've seen. So we really need some more Lotus coming in here.
Yeah, you love Lotus.
Oh yes. Best map ever released on any tac shooter that's ever been made ever.
It's not a bad map.
It's Lotus.
When you are casting it endlessly for like 9 games in a row.
Well, I mean, for any of you watching who watched EPIC41, you'll know that we had 36 games of Lotus
36.
played at EPIC41. So, you know, we've at least worked on it a little bit, you know. we've dialed it back. We've dialed it back.
Yeah.
36 games played on Lotus, and majority of the streamed games are also Lotus. I don't think there's a single series that didn't have Lotus. So, you know, we've dialed it back. Show us some other maps, guys. I kind of want to see Split now. I've just been thinking about it in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I didn't before, but now I've convinced myself.
It's interesting because I haven't personally seen much about it in terms of this kind of high-level gameplay. You mentioned, you know, Taeho possibly coming in and kind of stealing the spotlight a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll be intrigued to see how Sentinels get played on Split after that release.
Yeah.
KJ's... It's interesting because we mentioned at the beginning yesterday, KJ has been that kind of agent that everyone's been, we can't really play her anymore.
Yeah.
But I've seen her be locked in pretty much every game.
Yeah.
No one cares.
They're just like, destroy my util.
Yeah, if you can work around it, as long as you can get rid of Taeho before you get that ult down, it still works. I think, you know, if you can try and find ways to utilize Killjoy still, then it's doable.
Yeah.
I think people were just, you know, initially very scared too because of that, you know, damage on the ultimate.
I mean, what I want to see specifically is there was a strat which I was shown the other day, which has been being utilised in Tier 1. So it's an actual good strat. It's not a meme strat this time. I know what I'm like. I know what I'm like. But it's on split.
Yep.
We know how strong that mid control is. And basically, using Astra, Yoru, Breach, and Taeho, you can just take mid with no conflict at all when you're on attack. You Astra smoke Mail, so no one in heaven can help with mid.
Yep.
And then you fill the vents, like where the actual ropes are, with Taeho missiles, so no one can go in there if they die. Breach stuns the top of vent, and Yoru just TPs in with a shotgun. And whoever's playing mid is gone.
But also, you
Mid
could
control.
like not waste utility, hit your shots, and then just take mid.
Yeah, but also, I like util spam.
It is fun.
I like util
There was
spam.
a few rounds.
I like to see someone get Valoranted. You see them start shaking. They start running. You see them flicking all over the place, flashing lights everywhere. They don't know what to do.
We had it last game. We had so many Valorant rounds, and you just saw, you see like the ultimate starting to build up. You go, oh no.
Oh
And
dear.
at one point we had Taeho ult.
Yeah.
We had Breach ult. Oh, there was a few more as well, and Brim at the same time.
Oh no.
No, it wasn't Breach. There was I can't remember which one it was, but it was so stupid. And then we had Deadlock nets at the same time, getting caught in that
Yeah.
Brim ult.
Oh my days.
Chaotic.
It reminds me of that one clip which everyone always uses when they argue that Valorant has too many abilities. That one clip on Bind, where there's everything going on. There's a Brim ult. There's 2 Breach ults. There's Neon Wall,
You
a
know-
showstopper.
You know what happens to you in your game? You just like let go of your keyboard and mouse, just sit there and just
honestly,
wait.
it's like I've seen 10 different colours. I've seen 3 colours I didn't know existed. I'm not sure they did exist until that play happened. I'm just like, well,
They
you know.
start mixing together. You get like a sky and like a Euro flash at the same time. Your screen's like half blue.
I just turn my mouse around and just turn it off. Well, you know, I was probably going to miss my shot anyway. I can't even see what's on my screen. So, you know, these guys, they play a lot better than us. They'll be fine. But we're not even tier 3, guys. I'd put us in,
No, I don't know what you mean.
I don't know, invent tier 7.
Look, I haven't played in a while.
I know, you should probably keep it that way, if I'm honest. You know, before you drop into silver, guys. But, you know, it's fine, it's fine. The rank resets mean to everyone, guys. It's not just Maddie. It's mean to everyone. You know, when you drop back like 2 or 3 ranks, or 9.
I'll be honest with you, this is the highest I've placed after a rank reset. It's bad. My MMR is bad.
It's gold 2 for context, guys. She was like diamond 3 last season. That is.
I usually get placed in bronze.
That is like, you know, most people take a step off of like a curb. You've taken a swan dive off of a cliff. But that's the rank reset for you.
What?
Oh. I want to see Yoru on that map 3. That's what I want to see.
Okay.
I'm excited.
First of all, Pole. I haven't casted Pole yet. I know it's been a popular.
Yeah, I've not managed to this
I've
epic.
had 4 Havens, I think.
Okay. Well,
so Pole's new. It's fresh
Lotus
for me.
and Haven are both banned. No free site maps.
Good.
Only 2 site maps. Abyss is
We were mentioning how it's kind of a nice pick for the 3rd map, but it's interesting how they're like guaranteed to wanting to play this here.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting map. Is how I will word Pearl.
Yeah.
Pearl, Abyss. I mean, Pearl is also an interesting map. I mean, the fight's on long. My aim doesn't work like that. I can't do that.
Yeah, I know, but also we've seen a lot of ops this epic, and I think
true.
it might come in handy a
This
little
is
bit.
true.
In terms of Abyss, yeah, it's different, that's for sure. I was mentioning earlier about the mid control so important, and not many people were utilizing it that well. And I think if you can try and gain a bit more space, it's so important because you can just stretch out that defense so quickly.
It's a very tricky mid to take, though.
Yeah.
With those 4 entry angles.
But then again,
it's tricky.
That's where the Breach and the Sova together work really, really well. Alongside, an Omen that could be lurking or something along the lines of. So I think it can work, and yeah, it's difficult. But if you're playing as a team and you know what you're doing, then I believe
it is doable. It is doable. It's doable. But with 2 teams who are so strong, they're going to go into Pill both knowing how important that mid control is. I think it's going to be just all-out skirmish on mid. Not every round, but there's going to be a lot of just big team fights on mid.
I want to see some more judges.
You want to see more judges? More shotguns?
Yeah.
Okay.
We saw one on Bind sitting in a box in window, just behind a box with a Bucky. Like,
Standard, classic.
yeah, it was a save round. I want full send judge rounds.
A full send judge round. I just need to
okay,
clarify. When
no,
you
no,
say
no,
a
no,
full
okay.
send judge round,
Wait, one.
I want
no.
5 judges on one team
Yeah, okay.
and 5 Buckies on the other team. We can finally settle the debate of which shotgun you should buy, because it's not the Bucky.
That's true.
And if you think it is,
you're wrong.
I'm really sorry to inform you, but you are just wrong. It's not the Bucky. Why are you shooting someone at point blank range for 10 damage? For sure he's better, guys.
Yeah,
Come on.
true.
Right click on a classic's a better shotgun than the Bucky. Except for every now and then someone gets a clip where they left click like twice
no,
and get an ace.
your Bucky doesn't work. It's everyone else. When you're against it,
That's true. That's true.
you're getting one tap by a Bucky,
Yeah.
and then when you use it,
Yeah.
it 2 damage.
It's just like I'm allergic to the Bucky.
Yeah.
You know, I peek into a Bucky and I get evaporated. I shoot someone else with a Bucky and I've practically given them a Sage heal. they say, "Oh, thanks, man. That's really nice of you. I really appreciate that."
Yeah.
And then they shoot me.
Free kill. Yeah.
And then I'm gone. And then that's that. But, you know, going into our first map, I mean, what comps are you expecting to see?
I'm liking the double Astra.
Yeah?
I mean, Pearl is such... okay, yeah, it's 2-sighted, sure. It's still such a big map. You could easily have a 3rd sight in there if you wanted to. I think Astra works really, really well, being able to, you know, have those smokes anywhere, any point that you want. I'm liking the Killjoy, possibly. The issue is B's very open. And I feel like Killjoy util can be really hard to utilize. Maybe using it in mid, so you don't have to have some player holding it, and you can use that player somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're seeing Vice, and I like it as the only flashes here. It's been used before and it works well. Instead of this KO, you can kind of use Vice as a double agent almost. And Luca played Vice earlier brilliantly.
Yeah.
So you know, well versed in that sense. Chamber.
I'm always for a Chamber pick.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because Chamber is all or nothing.
Yeah, I reckon we're gonna have Porky and Lukey Chamber like ultimate with the op on Jet.
Yeah.
It would make sense. I see
Yeah.
it.
It's really strong.
Yeah, 100%. And also, you wanted the Yoru. I know you wanted it on Abyss.
I'll take a Yoru in any game.
Yeah.
Yoru's just fun.
Yeah.
Even if Yoru doesn't actually, even if you don't get any kills, I'm still entertained. I just love watching Yoru. It's just fun.
It is. And then they have the KO as well, which is standard for this map. The knife can do a lot of damage. This map tends to use a lot of utility amongst agents, so I think it's going to be pretty strong in that sense. But I'm excited to see how these guys use these comps with each other. You know, with their agents' abilities and combine them to get the best results.
Yeah, definitely. And something which I am curious about. Which do you see as being the agent with the most potential going into this match between the Yoru and the Jet? Because they're very similar duelists, but also very, very different at the same time.
Ooh. I think there's pros and cons to both. I think, you know, in terms of entering, I do believe the Yoru might be the play here just because they have the KO. And Vice, yeah, is good, but in terms of one or the other, you're going to want that KO at the end of the day. So I'm going to say the Yoru.
Yeah?
You can be sneaky. TP, you know. There's
That is
place
true.
to be had.
And with lineups like he's just used with the gate
Yeah.
crash as well, you can rotate across this massive map so quickly. Already going for that mid control he talked about earlier as well, going towards B-Link, try to take that doors control, but Course is going to push up and gets a headshot already, followed by Hazza. It's already down to 2v5. You've only been in this match for 5 seconds. That B-Link control is going to be taken. Deck looking to try and take down Hazza. He's looking for space wherever you can. You're already so outnumbered. That is not how you want to start off a best-of-3 series.
No, not at all.
Especially when both teams are going up against the team which is going to give them the most trouble, and Will gets the almost snipe of a frenzy at that point to the head. Corsa goes down, the plant will be found. Finds one, finds two, it's Bark. Down to a 4 versus 1, it's just Lukey with the ghost, man, just get one headshot over onto Bark before getting traded out by Waddles the Pig. An eventful round for a second there, but for the most part...
Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's that initial push and that first blood that really counts towards these rounds.
Yeah.
Pistol, again, it can be turned around very, very quickly. But, like you said, the 5v3 almost instantly creates such a, not a panic, but like, oh well, okay, our plan was ruined.
Yeah.
Let's try again, but the issue was, 7F didn't really give them a chance to rethink anything.
No.
And they're immediately, basically just surrounding WILLYG. It was a nice try. We saw a lot of damage, a few kills as well, but unfortunately didn't get through.
Yeah, definitely. And all they did was prove your point on how strong that mid control is, because even in a 3 versus 5, just taking mid control allowed them to get plant down and get 2 picks, which is really strong. And seems like they're going to want to try capitalize on the same thing again, trying to take space towards Art. Not too much info given out just yet. Bit of a passive split from Will. Porkchop is going to get detected. Nanoswarm goes out, just finding a little bit of damage. Just looking for any space you can to just try find an opening to push in. Flash comes through, only finds one. Whiffs going back and forth. What does the pick? Takes down Lukey, followed by Deck. With Betrayed, Plant will go down pretty easily. Will with the jump peak with the classic. You have to respect it. It's down to a 3 versus 4. You don't expect such an aggressive and successful push from a pistol round.
Yeah, I know. Still anyone's game.
I'll find you.
Just look for what information you can when you've lost so many guns. Taken down with a headshot. Corsa goes down. Kubfu just trying to find a return of his own. Gets taken out with the classic spams. As in a 1 versus 2. Is going to get traded out by Will. That was way too successful of a round for a team with a Sheriff and 4 classics.
Yeah. That's the thing though, right? It's when you're on a save round like that, you've really got to start thinking. So you got to play it a little bit more together, start strategizing a little bit more. Okay, yeah, it's second round, sure, but you still want to, win the round. So, play, and once they get that first kill, that's a gun.
Yeah.
And they can use it, take another 1v1, win that fight. You got 2 guns, and slowly you start building up your arsenal more and more. And then you're finding yourself at a disadvantage on 7F.
And you now put yourself rifles against pistols, which is so much stronger than the pistols against SMGs that you just fought against. Some spams in mid, nothing really found, but some space taken. Looks like there might be another conflict in mid. In just a moment, the look coming up from Kubfu, but does get caught out. The headshot from Deck. You just need to find as many picks as you can when you're on a pistol round like this. You have to be scared when WILLYG have such an advantage and still playing so cautious and so passive. Spam's coming through, playing like a complete cohesive unit. Porkchop finds 2. The fact that you're at such an advantage and you're still playing so passively.
They've been doing this throughout the whole weekend so far. Their confidence, they don't need to push and keep rushing people. They're okay with getting one and 2 and then backing up. They're like
1 enemy remaining.
They understand the risks. Look, we've planted site. They're not gonna, overstep their ground. Fine. You guys need to come towards us. Absolutely fine. They have that advantage. And yeah, okay, now the guns are on the side of 7F in a way. But look at the economy.
Yeah, and it's only so slightly. The only gun disadvantage which you have on WILLYG is that you have 2 Guardians, but they've already proved how effective they are with the Guardian, but it's not really something that's going to slow them down too much. They have so many creds as well.
There's a lot of people very close to ultimates already. We've got Bart possibly coming out. Will's already got that Fatal, which could come in handy.
Doing a very standard scan over into Art just to look for that information.
In this mid push.
It's so slow from both sides.
It is. You would think, because both these 2 teams have got quite a high rep at this epic so far, that we kind of going at it, fast-paced gameplay, but
face your fear.
That Fatal does come through though, finds a lot of information, and now you have such an advantage in so many of your fights. Spam's going through the smoke. But no damage found just yet. Headshot through from Hazard, traded out by Lukey. Just trading blow for blow. No advantage found yet. Deck coming through with the late lurk. Lukey following up. It's still a 3 versus 2 though. Plant will be going down. Lukey on such low HP. Managing to find the cross. That crossfire is going to come in so handy, but Corsa does find Deck first. Looking for the spams through the wall. The information about your position's already been revealed as cross comes through. Kubfu finds Porkchop. Managed to duck over into the smoke to get the spray transferred. Not quite take out with the right click from the classic across site.
Powerful.
But even though WILLYG Palace lost the round, they still killed 4 members of 7F who were already worse for wears in terms of creds.
I think we're going to find a very similar pattern across the whole of the next 2 games, maybe 3 games, where every round is most likely going to be close. You're going to have 1 or 2 players left at the end of each round. And although 7F won the round, there's the judge!
And the Bucky.
And the Bucky! On the same team. But like I was about to say, you know, they won the round, but the Creds still aren't looking too great. In terms of, you know, if you win a round, you would think you could still fall by. But it's not looking too great.
No, it doesn't quite always work out that way. And unfortunately, the Bucky was sold. No, the Judge was sold, sorry. But the Bucky is still in play. Bucky is still in play. But opted for a Guardian instead of that Judge. Gonna finally see some shotgun gameplay, which, of course, it's sitting in a corner.
Yep.
Waiting for someone to accidentally walk into your crosshair. A lot of aggression coming through from 7F here. Kubfu does go down nice and early. Luca trying to find a pick of his own just to follow up. But Corso with a double trade with a headshot.
Spike down B.
Managed to completely take that numbers advantage in a situation where you really should not be able to even find one. 4 versus 3. Will showing presence over onto the A site. It looks like the rotate has been called by 7F.
Site definitely hasn't been cleared, so possibly trying to get some sort of numbers advantage.
It's going to be really difficult with no flashes to help you. Waddle's just looking to buy as much time as you can so that Bart can run over with that Bucky, try to close that distance. The nade's going to come through, but it's not going to find anyone. Wallbang's managed to chip you down. Another fade all back to back. Luki comes through with the trade. 2 versus 2. Spike not yet down. Just looking for information where you can. Corso managed to find out Porky Chop. He's unaware. Spam's coming through the wall. Switching to the Headhunter. Maybe not the best decision. Shorty jump around the corner. There's nothing you can do about that. There's a 4K for Corso in another round where 7F really were at a disadvantage again.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, it's the back and forth of, you know, there's trades going on and off all the time. And both teams are playing very similarly, right? They're grouping up, you know, in pairs at least, you know, in 3s. And yeah, just trades constantly. And we're seeing this ultimates now coming through a little bit more. It's going to be interesting, actually. We have both Cosmic Divides, which together, I've seen, we might see a Valorant round possibly, all at once, but it might be opting. Okay, so we're seeing Luki go towards C by himself. There we go.
We are seeing the Tour de Force come through.
He's not going to push up though. He's going to hold that ground. He knows that 7F have been wanting to push up a little bit and get some space towards B, so opting to just hold his ground a little bit.
But with the spot where he's placed his anchor, he can decide to go a bit more aggressive if he decides to, without having to mess with his setup at all.
Exactly. Not to mention there's Astra Star towards that site as well, meaning that could even smoke it if need to or pull them in.
Exactly, set up to be very safe, and Luki does seem to be trying to take that space, might find the timing over onto Kubfu when he goes for his rotate, but sending the gate crash through. He's probably not going to go that way, but does manage to spot out Corsa. It's such a slow round, but art control's been completely taken. Porky Chop leading the charge. Luki caught, not looking in the right direction, picking up his anchor, but Porky Chop's going to take that aggression, takes down Waddles. Manages to get that backside control as well, that's going to be so powerful. Claiming a Guardian, upgrade from the knives. 4 versus 2 with complete site control. Just watching these deep smokes, opting to fight with the knives instead of the Guardian. Allows you to have that mobility. Does get flashed out, Kubfu. Takes down Porky Chop. The numbers becoming slightly more even.
It was so slow.
It's a very difficult setup to push. You can't even really tap the spike until those fawns have disappeared because you don't want to take that damage. The crossfire is probably going to come in soon. Just look to take that main control. The Seas is going to capture Hazza. Send him a horde to site just in case, but it's the double up over into main. Can you take out Will? You can. It's a little bit of exit damage. The cross back to save. Might get caught off here. Hazza manages to find one more. Kubfu falls. No more damage. Hazza decides to hide, which is honestly the best choice in that situation.
Yeah. In terms of money, yeah, he would not be able to buy. So I think this is going okay. Back and forth, like I said. Even the rounds, I don't think we're going to see much of a gap in the rounds at any point. I think it's going to go towards the double digits towards the end, I think, where these rounds really start to matter, sorry. But again, 7 out. They're really starting to build up these ultimates, and I keep mentioning it because at some point they're going to have to use them, right? Because you want to try and get them at least twice during this half. Maybe come through, try and get some information. I don't even...
There's not really a lot you can do with such an awkward buy.
That's the issue. Like, yeah, we've got 2 Vandals. Okay, the Sheriff's great, and the Bucky can be used in certain situations, but very, very few on this map, unless you're in mid, which I do believe Corsa is, but... Okay, opting for the...
The Stinger,
okay.
I feel better about a Stinger than a Bucky,
yeah.
but even going for a Sheriff now, we even have a Classic on Waddles. It's going to be a tricky round for 7F.
Yeah, definitely. And none of these ultimates really going to be able to secure them any more guns than they already have. It's more about space and damage than anything.
Exactly. It's more about just trying to set that economy for next round. And WILLYG Palace know that's exactly the plan, taking that aggression. Already forcing Kubfu to almost waste that gate crash that he had set up in back sight. Cosmic Divide coming through, splitting that sight in half. And then the instant rotate. If you are 7F, you are not expecting a rotate here when you're on mostly pistols against rifles.
No, not at all. We've still got 10 people alive. We might see a big brawl happen towards A.
It has now been red. Those skirmishes we expected on mid is looking like it's going to happen on A. Going to be a lot of close quarters battles going on here. And like you said, it is 4 ultimates, but why would you use any of them in a situation like this? You just want to go for a couple of picks, but you're going to peek into so many Vandals. But WILLYG Palace still playing so passive. Not forcing space if they don't have to, but giving away their position with the wall spams. Will goes out to try find one, gets taken down by Kubfu. The backside control has been re-secured, but the double kill from Lukey with a spray transfer. Goes for a third. Can you find a fourth? Looking for Bark over in that back sight. Porky Chopper does find that pick, knocking Bark down to the ground. Corsa with only a Sheriff and almost 10 HP. Manages to take down Deck, who switches to the Classic, even with a few shots remaining. Lukey does manage to get that fourth, taking down Corsa. Almost got what I believe would have been our first ace on stream.
Yeah, we've seen these quite a few times now where we've seen a 4K or even, been taken or died to that last man standing, but we'll see it eventually.
Eventually.
We're seeing Kubfu now on the operator. I did mention before that he's an avid Cypher player, but we're opting for a different play today, I believe, unless I'm completely wrong. But
sometimes players do that just to surprise you. Sometimes they just go,
"Oh, it's that diversity, right?
Thought you knew
and that ability to move around and play with your team as they need you."
Yeah. Exactly, and going so aggressive as well at B long. When you're playing someone like Yori, you can afford to do this.
You get push up, peek, and then TP away. Sometimes you get caught out a little bit, on the timing, but...
Bring them down.
Mid.
A little bit of information being found in art, but nothing too detrimental.
Face your fear.
That's just smoke coming through, followed by the Nightmare. Followed by a Prowler. A lot of information being found here. Haunt going into Maid, and the Visor just to take out your arsenal. And the shots come through. Lukey finding that first pick over onto Corsa. Hazza has managed to just about duck out of that Visor. Still has the Vandal online. But in this 4 versus 5 against such a post-plant heavy team, you are in a tricky spot, but the Cosmic Divide's going to come and completely cut off that main presence. Headshot going through over to take out Lukey. Luka holding this close angle, waiting for Hazza to push through. He's itching to do it. Kubfu taken down by Porky Chop in the exact same situation. Hazza jumps through. Headshot over onto Luka.
Stick in.
You just stick it. At that point, you may as well, because you're not going to win based on the kills. Or you can prove me completely wrong, get the kills as well, and take out every rifle on WILLYG, taking it to a 4-4. No team has really had a leg up at any point in this game.
This is what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to see much of it unless some new strats start coming out. The money is looking good. I think, WILLYG Palace is still... I reckon they could probably still buy. Pocket would be able to, cover Deck if need be. But on the other side, if they drop a round, it's not going to look good. And that's where that gap can start, building up a little bit more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And those gaps, both of these teams are so good at actually spotting these gaps that it makes any gap on either side so detrimental.
Exactly.
Information has been found. Hazza knows there's at least one trying to push for that doors control. Kubfu finds another over into a mid. The call has to be made, but surely it is a split for either A or B. Don't move your defense just yet. Waddles gets taken down on A. Not quite enough to make 7F crack. Go for that rotate, but complete control of all of A Link and site has been taken. Plant will go down. Trying to build up and farm that Fade ultimate again. We've seen how much impact it's had before. Deck forced to peek out, gets taken down by Hazard for coordination. A perfect use of a dimensional drift. Gonna take a little bit more space now. Hazard knows exactly where to look when peeking out of these corners. Corsa manages to find 2 picks over onto Luca and Luki.
One enemy remaining.
Will, with a return of your own, manages to find 1. Can you find the second? Thinks it's a fake. It has been halved, and Khufu manages to take out that pick, taking it to 5-4. What an amazing use of a dimensional drift.
Yeah.
The amount of information that was just collected and communicated in such a perfect way.
I mean, saying this, like, you would think Yoru would, an ultimate would be used for some, he's a duelist, right? So, some sort of, fragging. No. Full information. Use it as your teammate. Has a immediately, like, right, tell me where they are.
Yeah.
And I'll just shoot where you are. And it works 9 out of 10 times.
I mean, it ended up not even being Hazard that got the kills.
Yeah.
Hazard swung out with perfect crosshair placement, but Corsa was already there.
Yep.
Because, I mean, obviously you're hearing the same comms, you have the same radar.
Exactly.
The information from Khufu was so effective, but 2 players were able to make such informed decisions off of it.
And we mentioned about that that round, 7F really needing to win it, and they did. And they know that, right? They know, okay, right, we need to win this, the buy's not going to be great otherwise.
Peak coming through. Deck does get taken down
Placing swarm grenade.
very early again. Nanoswarm going to go online to just try and deny any more pressure over onto doors, but it does look like it's going to be an art push. Alarm bot finding that information. Flash coming around the corner. No aggression taken off of that flash just yet. Everything slowed down completely. The calm before the storm. WILLYG opting to go towards B instead, but are you going to check your corners? Or are you just going to walk out? No, Corsa staring towards site. Does get taken down by Luca. B site's been left completely open. I feel like 7F keeps doing this. They keep leaving a site open so early into the round. Of course, letting those early plants go down. Want to check Heaven. There's a split retake going on over on the defense, but it's probably not going to be enough when Luki peeks out with the tour de force, taking down Hazard. Using that anchor just to get out of dodge. Nade landed over onto the spike, takes down Will on the retreat. Luki gets finds 2 more with the ultimate and gets the headhunter out, gets the headshot. Another 4K for Luki. We did not expect Chamber to be the most aggressive character on your team when you have a Jet.
No, not at all.
16-7.
With the op now. You don't need an op. Look at the buy. Look at the money. You don't need an op.
Yeah, but sometimes you want an op. And sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes all you need is
We've
just
got the
one
Marshall
op.
going up against the op.
We've seen
See
that
who
so
wins.
many times. And the Marshall has not won yet.
No. I mean, I was going to mention how WILLYG Palace, you mentioned how they get site easily. 7F like to back off.
Yep.
But they don't like to push further than they should.
Ooh, the shot doesn't quite go through. But a Sheriff versus an op. This
He knows
feels like
now.
it's almost cyberbullying. The shot comes through, takes down Khufu, but the Prowler, double Prowler, does manage to find that near side, but spams come through the classic. Don't quite connect. Deck does get the headshot over onto Corsa just to shut that down. Will finding one of his own all the way over on A main. That is a lot of space for WILLYG, and when you're against pistols and you're now in a 5 versus 2 with an op and so many rifles, you're feeling pretty comfortable. Hazard taking the Sheriff, manages to find Luki. That is the operator down on the floor. Deck does get dinked, but not before managing to take down Bark, followed by Will. Pretty standard full buy versus pistol round there.
Round in the halves.
The way they're playing is so well.
ultimate's not
Right?
ready.
Because we're seeing they know they need to get a pick first.
Yeah.
Because going 5v5, they haven't been winning against 7F. Seeing them get a site and allowing 7F to retake with 5 people, it's not working.
No.
So waiting around, trying to get that early pick and stretch that defense really far. There's so many places that they can attack from, but defense have to be in each one. Especially if you can kill the Killjoy, who has so much utility set up in mid, usually, then that takes so much space that 7F have to try and cover.
Yeah.
You can basically attack wherever you want then.
Yeah, exactly.
So that early pick is so crucial. And WILLYG know that.
Yeah, 100%. And
there we go.
trying to take that
Like-
space, but get shut down. With a very crisp kill, I have to say.
Yeah.
That was almost instant.
Yeah.
Prowler going through, trying to find some information. Like you said, the space seems to be the most important factor in this match. And using that Prowler forces 7F to drop space. Holding multiple angles over onto one smoke, not wanting to overextend too much. Waddles gets taken down with the operator from Porky the Nightmare coming through with another Nightmare to come straight back at you. Everyone's on such low HP now. Just looking for any sort of angle you can get. Porky with a third over onto Corsair, but does get traded out by Bark with a very crisp one-tap. Some shots going back and forth, and the op has been picked back up to find fourth killer. All 5 kills going to be from one operator this round.
We've got 2 ops going.
Hazard knowing to dodge
30
that ultimate.
left.
The plant will be going down in a 1v4. Do you want to commit a lockdown? That's going to give
No
too
one's
much
watching.
information away. You find Lukey, take him down with a headshot. You know you can peek into 3. Surely you can't just peek in with no utility. The dry peek does not quite work in your favor. Deck will take you down. But it could have been anyone's kill with how strong of a crossfire has been held
I'm
by
so
3
confused.
people.
Yeah. First of all, there was 2 ops on one side. Towards the end. Then I don't know where they managed to get it from. But then they were all holding flowers. All 4 of them were sitting from me. Well, 3
So
of them.
convinced it was going to be a flowers push.
And I just think, okay, yeah, sure, if there's information that's been said or something, but you got to at least check the other angles as well. But it doesn't matter, because again, there's 4 of them alive. If one
Yeah.
gets taken down, you've still got 3 left.
We'll just turn around.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We are already into the second half of the map.
Do you feel like that lockdown should have been used in that last round? Once the information was
Yeah.
given that you're in art, maybe just put the lockdown just to even try force a push?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because you got the first kill, you could have easily backed up a little bit, put it down. Last round, right?
Because there was time
No
for the
ways.
lockdown
Yeah.
to go down before the spike went off. Very aggressive push from 7F to try and kick things off in the second half here. Gets taken down with a one-tap from Porky Chop. Lukey with that aggression. You said he would do this in long, but does get taken down by Waddles. With a return with the Ghost. A lot of space been taken. Backside control. Kubfu takes down Porky Chop with a very easy right-click to the face. But there's so much map control and so much pressure taken from the side of 7F here.
Ready yet. Spike planted.
Trying to use util where you can to try and find any information as Luca gets taken down with that headshot through the smoke as it blooms.
One enemy remaining.
Frenzy return.
Last player standing.
It's a 1 versus 1. Astra versus Astra. And it is an Astra diff for the side of Waddles the Pig with
That
a
was-
crisp tap over onto deck as he tries to jump out of that smoke.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, again, pistol rounds, it's going to be down to the last person. We're seeing trades back and forth all the time. But the difference was that WILLYG had 2 rounds ahead, right? So if they managed to get, typically, you know, you get the first one, you get the second one, right? So if they managed to get the first one, they would have probably brought them up to 9-5.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's where that gap
Yeah.
really, you know, you have some sort of chance because these rounds are going back and forth. So at this point, we're looking at going back to 7-all,
Yeah.
and we're at that slow pace trading round back and forth again.
Exactly. And just trying to ensure that that doesn't happen. Porky Chop sending some spams up long, trying to find some damage, but nothing really managing to connect.
Obscuring vision.
So much utility being deployed. When you're on that better buy, you can afford to kind of just throw your util out like crazy. Lukey goes to try and find that pick, but Kubfu and Corsair out there to return it. Bark following up. Looking to try and have a flawless bonus round. Hazard taking down Porky Chop. Flash will come through from Kubfu to support that double pike. And Waddles the Pig still only has a Ghost to close out 2 rounds in a row. And it was a team ace as well. Each person in 7F got 1 pick each. No one died. Everyone had each other's back. Util was perfect. You couldn't ask for any more.
Cannot ask for any more than that. And okay, yeah, we're seeing Vandals now, the side of WILLYG, but the shield's not looking too great. And against, you want to have as much of an advantage as you can. Against Cool Dogs and Spectres, you're giving them a bigger chance to try and get those kills.
Yeah.
And you need to secure this round, right?
Yeah, 100%. You can't afford to lose this rifle round because statistically you're meant to win it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you are in a very bad place for the next 2 rounds after this. It is looking like WILLYG want to make as much impact as they can with these rifles, managing to find that double kill with Phantom Spray, and with that regen shield, you're now going to have enough health to still be able to tank one more shot before going down. But you do retreat to hide behind Porkychop, who has that full HP and a Vandal in hand. Luca cannot afford to be aggressive here. You do have a pretty strong flash set up. Waddles will fall down to the body spam with the Vandal. 2 versus 5. WILLYG kind of need to make this a flawless round. They're not in a position where they can lose even one rifle. That might just happen with that Vice Wall going up. Porkychop finds the headshot over onto Bark. It's 5 versus 1 for Hazza, who I believe only has a Bulldog and a Shorty. You might be able to find a pick here or there, but do we want to be optimistic or realistic?
Look,
It's the position we find ourselves in. Aaron on the side of optimism with the burst straight to the head, takes down Porkychop. That's 1 rifle lost. Lukey really close to losing a second rifle. The headshot does go through onto Hazza.
Losing ones, it could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse.
And the money is now looking rather even. Lots of half shields along the board. In terms of ultimates, we're not going to see anything for the next round or so. But I mean, I would say Bark maybe. He's got the spike in hand, possibly trying to get, get one of those ultimate orbs, get that spike down and use it for post-plant possibly. But even so, it depends, because is it worth using it?
Depends on the situation, but more often than not in a round like this, not really.
No.
When you're against an enemy team whose economy is very close to going down the drain, you can commit your ultimate just to try and secure that advantage in the economy. But also you could save it to help you on those more difficult rounds that you know are coming up very shortly. After talking about how important mid control is, I'm surprised we're not seeing it be contested more.
Yeah.
It seems to be that the attacking team just take mid and the defense lay off.
Nope.
But Hazza will be taken down by Lukey. Does manage to find the timing there, and the one tap from Will. Trying to secure that A main control. Does throw through the C's, but doesn't quite manage to find any captures. The Prowler comes through. No information gathered. You could just cut off sound here, but opted to spam through the smoke. Of course, it does get taken down. Returning fire onto those bullet traces. Luca with that Phantom. No sight control really being taken. The headshot comes through. Bark does manage to trade one, but is taken down. It's 9-7 for WILLYG, who are now also at that economy advantage as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned about that mid. I think, like you mentioned, in the first half, the defense kind of just sat back with that line and held it, right? But you need to start taking that space.
Yeah.
I mean, timeout. That's big.
Timeout
you
needs
know it's
to
in
be
their
called.
heads now, right?
Yeah.
So it does. You're right, because at this point, WILLYG are really starting to hold their ground on this defense. They're comfortable, right? They haven't even got that much of a defense. They've got 2 Sentinels, but these 2 Sentinels are the ones that aren't typically considered the best in terms of locking down sites. But it's working so well. They're getting out, they're getting a pick or 2, coming back, and this is where them being able to not take too much ground and overstep works really, really well.
Yeah.
They can go out, get 1 pick, and come back, and they're okay with that.
Yeah.
They don't have to, keep peeking out and go for 2 or 3, because it won't work.
No.
So we're still seeing, obviously we're not fully into the round yet, but 3 possibly towards A, maybe looking one to hold mid a little bit more.
On that topic you were talking about of that aggression from the defense, on the first half, 7F were not aggressive on defense at all. They occasionally sent Yoru up,
slow.
which I think is what inspired WILLYG to go, okay, they don't really like to be super aggressive, they like to play slow. Let's just push that.
Yeah.
Because when a team likes to play slow, they are not normally stacked towards one site.
Exactly.
They're normally spread out, 1, maybe 2
Always
people in
default.
each spot, defaulting across the map, and it means that you can go and take those peaks without having to be too scared of getting traded out. And especially when you're a chamber and you can TP back so fast, it just makes that so important. It makes it so easy to manage to find that 1 pick. I mean, we're seeing that aggression from Lukey here as well. Does manage to find one, but doesn't manage to get that TP out. Will trade that with the headshot through the wall. Cooper does go down. It is against pistols, so WILLYG feeling pretty confident.
Again.
Probably why the anchor wasn't used.
Yeah, but they backed up. And look, no one on B has even moved a step.
Yeah.
they know that they're holding their ground no matter what. That they can trust their teammates on A to do the work.
They're completely chilled out, but Hazard will find the headshot over onto deck, taking him down from that half-wall peak. Now this one just trying to clear it out. Dugout, but Spam comes through, finds one, finds a second, cannot find the third. Corsa will shut that down just as quickly as the play began. Does opt to go for this rotate. But it's only a matter of time before WILLYG sniff this out because they are not hearing the plank go down. Corsa opting to go for the flank.
30 seconds left.
If you get the timing here, this could be disgusting. Luca not turning around. Take it out with a headshot, goes for the second, but Porkychop does manage to get that 180 flick with the Outlaw to take you down. That was very, very nearly a perfect play from Corsa. If he just didn't miss that first shot on the Porkychop, that was going to be a very successful fight.
Yeah. You couldn't have done anything better there, to be honest with you. If you're Corsa, you think it would look. Site, there's probably someone on site still.
Yeah.
Try and find them. That's the thing with this mid as well. If you have control on attack, you're just weaving in and out. You can easily get into that defending spawn. But I mean, Porkychop turning around and quick scoping with the op also, you know, deters that a little bit.
It does kind of shut down any attempt at that. Porkychop sending some spams up into long. Is aware of the cross. There's that dimensional drift again, going for information just how we like to see last time, but the flash doesn't quite manage to connect. Lukey unable to use that op due to the concussion, but the spams come through deck, followed by Luke with 2 of his own. And it's down to a 5 versus 2 in just a matter of seconds. And the spike has also been dropped so close onto site, you can now just 5-stack if you're WILLYG. If sound is cut for too long, doing exactly like Luca's doing, you just go and hold those flank spots. All it takes is Will holding Link, Luca holds CT, and there's now nothing 7F can really do.
And again, they're not over pushing at all. There's no need to.
There's really no need to when you know you can close out this round and beat 11-7. And with this being the finals of the upper bracket, you are securing yourself a spot in the grand finals if you win this.
30 seconds left.
You kind of have to just, you have to play everything as smart as you can.
Oh.
Information being found. Corsa manages to get that tap over onto Lukey with a very clean shot. 31 HP on Corsa though. That's only one body shot and then you're going to fall down. Hazard managing to find another. Corsa with a headshot to follow up. It's now a 2 versus 2. A 1 versus 2, sorry.
Run away. No time.
You can't find enough impact here. You're on 31 HP. Maybe you go for one more exit frag, but really it's not going to be the smart play. Just save that rifle.
I respect it.
It was.
Also did a very, very good job.
It was as good of an attempt at the
It's just
push as you
timing.
could get.
If you're sitting around waiting for so long, it's not their fault. WILLYG are very good at, you know, keeping that site tight and making sure no one can push onto it, especially if they had the spike. There's not much you can do. But they're running that time down so well. Again, Corsa can do as much as he wants to. You've got 10 seconds left on the board.
Yeah.
Not great. We are seeing all 5 ultimates though on WILLYG. And they are 11 rounds in.
That's a scary image.
Yep.
That is a very, very scary image. Cross will be found here, but Lukey takes a step before taking that shot, losing the accuracy. Goes for a second, but still no shot going to connect until the third comes through with a wallbang, takes down Kubfu. Shots being found, Deck finding one of his own. All attempts at taking space will be shut down. Spams come through the smoke, Deck finding the second for himself with the wallbang as well. Looking to take that aggression, goes into astral form in the middle of the smoke, right in front of the enemies, plays down that star. Just to help support yourself, and then the sheriff of all guns to come through to take down Bark. It's 4 versus 1. Waddles of Pig manages to find that headshot, take down the Haunt. Denying any information, you just have to jump out, go for it, try get a kill, try get a clip, but you don't manage to. Lukey closes it out to make it a 12-7 scoreline.
They only used 1 ultimate. They've got 4 for match point.
They do have 4 for match point.
It's not going to look too great, I don't think. But Lukey's still on that op, 24 and 13. I mean, you don't need to be top fragging as a chamber. You really don't.
But we like to see it.
We love to see it. I'm not going to complain, but I'm saying it's just there's not much more you can ask for. And I thought these rounds would be a lot tighter, but then you get to the second half and people play a lot differently, right?
Yeah.
They're used to this defense, and you can tell that they're so solid and coordinated as like a wall of defense.
But that op is going to get shot down with a tap through from a Guardian. Luca coming through with a response. Trying to balance out.
That's another thing they're really good at, right?
Very
If
good at.
7F can get the first pick, okay, even it out, done.
Where are you?
Very good at. It's like we said, with teams like this, you're almost always getting traded out. Spike is going to go down very early, though, due to that A site being completely open. With a three-person retake from CT. Porkychop going for the jump peek deck to take down Hazard. Waddle's not managing to step out, even though he was right on the edge of that. Oh, that is unfortunate. Of course, it will fall down in main. That is very important space being lost. The Cosmic Divide is going to come through.
One enemy
The Astroport to take you off of the spike to deny that defuse, but now you're in a 1 versus 4 bark. You need to take some space. You find one, not managing to find a second. It's going to be a 13-7 scoreline for WILLYG Palace to take out the first map of this best of 3 series.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting because, like I was just mentioning, it looks really, really solid for both teams.
Yeah.
And then the second you switch, I think WILLYG took that chance to really, hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Obviously, they lost the first round. It wasn't looking too great, and then immediately came back and started pulling it back a little bit. But again, do you think 7F at this point are going to have to start working on their defense or take the next map to their advantage a little bit more?
I think it's more a case of their attack was way too separated, in my opinion. They were always defaulting across the map, which let WILLYG just go and take 2-on-1 fights.
They're so
with no
passive.
risk of trade.
And it worked on defense, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It just, you need to start, really getting practicing, really just starting to get a bit more aggressive.
Yeah. You need to take that aggression. You need to close those gaps. But we will be going to a 5-minute break to just let our players, recenter themselves to go into that second map of our best of 3 series. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to EPIC44 with Intel, sponsored by Overclockers and Asus Republica Gamers. I'm still Quicks, your play-by-play caster. Still joined by Maddie.
Yep,
Matt, your color caster for today. We will be going into map 2 of our upper bracket finals, which map 1 was crazy, and the best way to start the upper bracket finals for our VAL tournament sponsored by Asus Republica Gamers. It's going well.
It's going
well
really
so far.
well. I think 7 have had a rough second half. Their attack wasn't strong enough against WILLYG Palace, and they needed to take a little bit more space and a bit more confidence. But it's doable. Abyss is definitely the place to do it. There's so much space that you can take.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see a little bit of a close match.
I'm hoping to, because as well, 7F are going to come back with a little bit of a vengeance now. Because first half on Pearl was so close. And then only managing to pick up 2 rounds on second half.
Yeah.
With a team like 7F, they are going to want to prove themselves. They're going to come back full steam.
Yeah.
So Abyss should be very close.
Hopefully. Obviously, we always love to have a close game. Even third map, we love these teams are hit. We're upper bracket finals.
We're here for the competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Both teams have worked so hard to get here. The least they can do is get to third map. They deserve it.
Exactly.
And there's lower brackets, and there's
you will have another chance.
Yeah.
You can, have a lower bracket
they're
come
here
back.
to play VALORANT.
Yeah.
They want to play these games.
Exactly. So they're going to come in with all of their effort and try to show us the best that they can do.
Definitely.
And if that's better than what we just watched, that's going to be some pretty good Valorant to watch, if I'm honest. But yeah, I mean, talking about that first map though, we talked about it a little bit before we threw to the break about how there's just too many gaps on 7F's attack.
Yeah.
Way too many gaps.
Yep.
And how we're hoping that they start to double up a little bit more, start to go in at least pairs. Maybe only send one person to lurk rather than everyone to lurk in different places.
Yeah, I mean, default works once or twice when you're really struggling to kind of think of any strats to do.
Yeah, when you're just looking.
You just need something. You need some sort of advantage, but it's not going to work every round.
Yeah.
And you can see them trying their best, and it didn't work from the start. I think they kept trying until it did, but it just didn't.
Yeah, I think the reason why you go for a default was completely lost on them.
Yeah.
Which isn't because they don't understand what a default is.
No.
They have such a deep understanding of the game. But the reason you go for a default is to look for gaps in the defense's setup.
Exactly.
But if you default too much,
you never know the
to
setup.
it is, 1, you don't know the setup because you never got to see it. But 2, if you default too much, you're making the gaps in your own setup, which if the defense clock on, then they start to send 2 people up.
Yeah.
Which is what happened on A main and B main. They just kept alternating which one they sent 2 people up and just took that space. Then you have half of the map under your control.
Yeah.
Now the attackers don't really have a lot to do.
It was so easy for WILLYG to just kind of take that space and use it well. And it was free for them. They were, okay, no one's here. We'll walk up, get a kill,
Yeah.
On the lurk. And it's just, basically exactly what you said. And I'm hoping that they've kind of learnt from that and they're going to use Abyss to try and change that. Yeah. Because also Biden's such a great decider map. We touched on it briefly before, but it's such a good map to it'll really prove which team should win.
It does, yeah.
So it makes sense, but we do have that hurdle of Abyss first.
We do, but if any teams can tackle that Abyss hurdle, it is the 2 teams that we have for you here.
Yeah.
And
I'm interested in the comps that we're going to see.
That is what I was about to move on to. Is I am really curious what you think we are going to see comp-wise over on Abyss.
Okay, so Astra makes sense. We can clearly see that both teams can play Astra.
Yeah.
In terms of, we could see Omen if they're more comfortable. But either or tends to be fine. It depends on what duelist we had the games previously this morning. We had that Jet Dash and a Yoru on the same team as an Omen, and that's a lot quicker play. So the Omen smokes can go down a lot faster. You don't have to go into that celestial state. So it depends on what they want. In terms of Sentinel, sorry, probably no. I'm moving on to Sentinel.
We're moving on to Sentinel. Okay.
We're going fast.
I thought we were still talking about Omen. No. Okay. Omen's in the past, guys.
In terms of Sentinel, I would probably say Vice. Yeah. I mean, Luca again.
We've got Vice, and we've got Vice.
We do.
And we've got Omen.
Omen, Jet. Oh, it was these guys who played earlier. That was why. It's been a long day. This is the exact comp they played earlier. They know it very well. They did well. They won the game.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Pretty much. Am I seeing? No, I'm not seeing a mirror comp. I'm going crazy.
Not quite. We just switched out the Jet with the KO so far and the Astra with the Omen.
Yes, they got us. Yeah, okay. So, how do you feel about that? Because the KO with
I feel good about this.
really
On the side of WILLYG.
yes, yeah.
Because
Okay, that makes
WILLYG
sense.
knows that 7F have those gaps, and they've now just picked the most aggressive comp that you couldn't write a more aggressive comp for me for this
Yeah.
map.
And I think the Jet and Euro work so well. The Euro for entry, and even on the defense, that Jet is so strong in mid. So Porky Chop in mid,
Yeah.
and then having Yoru cover A main with that TP with a
Yeah.
gun or even a an operator could really work. I'm not sure about the KO. I don't know. It's okay and it can work, but you've got that Sova, right?
Yeah, this is true, but also there's been a lot of inspiration has actually been coming from CS recently for how people
Yeah.
are approaching
Very
Abyss
true.
because of the fact that in CS most flash lineups involve you throwing the flash completely out of the map
Right.
because then the flash is in such an open spot
Okay.
that it covers so many people. I mean,
If
you're
you
looking
throw
at
it
this site
out in
here.
the- yeah.
If you throw it out to the side, you can flash people playing front of site and back site all at the same time with one flash.
Yeah. And
So
with the
strong.
KO flash, you don't need to bounce it or anything.
No, you
Just
can
throw it straight up in the air.
You can just left click it out round the side of a wall,
Yep.
and you can, with A site, you can flash a good 75% of the entire
Very
site
true.
with one flash.
That would be great to use alongside a Jet. I'll be honest.
With a Jet, yeah, much more than a Yoru.
Yes. We'll have to see.
We will have to see, but we are seeing a bit of aggression straight away. 7F closing those gaps like we asked them to. The first headshot going to come through from Waddles to take down Lukey. A few spams just to put some pressure. You don't want to overextend too much here. On either side, really, you do have a pick, but not the most impactful pick. The Yoru is probably the least impactful person to take down this early in the round.
Blocking
Yeah,
vision.
definitely. We did see 7F take the first round last map, so hopefully they kind of bring in that momentum again.
Will is going to
What?
find a pick over onto Waddles, who tried to stay out on the lurk over in main, and a pick found in mid as well. Suddenly the numbers advantage goes over towards WILLYG. Trying to take that space over towards B side, but the Vice Wall will get triggered.
That's coming up blank as well.
Flash is going to be retrieved. It's a 4 versus 3. You may as well wait for your team. Try flood in numbers. It is pistol round. It's mostly about the gunfights rather than the abilities this early on in the game. As they're trying to set up this flash for the post plant. Very strong post plant as well. It is the most common plant spot at the moment, so we will see very precise gameplay with 2 headshots following back to back. Deck finds a second with a right click from behind. Kupu going with that massive flank over through heaven, but you're not going to have enough time to come deny this defuse. Spam's coming through the smoke, and Porky Chop does manage to close out that kill. Only 10 HP remaining. It's dicey for himself, but not for the team.
Yeah. What I really liked there was that that Vice Wall completely cuts off that spike plant. So what we saw was a rotate happening, and then the entry, who I believe was Hazza on that Vice, jumped through the wall, putting it up, you know, and entering that site. But that's they want to try and get that spike down early as they could, and you know, really try and put some sort of pressure on that rotate, but it immediately blocked it.
Yeah.
And then that gives time, like you mentioned. Lucas sat back, waited for the whole team to retake, but the spike had just gone down once everyone got there.
Yeah.
So it gave them like such a good advantage.
That timing really did work out in their favor. Try deciding to switch up to a completely aggressive play this time instead, but the paranoia comes through. Does manage to flash everyone but one, and Causa manages to get the double kill with the classic. That is very strong damage, and with the peak from the top, jumping round with the movement, but Lukey manages to find a pick over onto Waddles before getting traded out by Bark with the Bulldog, but he's found to upgrade his gun. Sheriff one-tap through the wall. Porkchop does fall down, and it's suddenly a 1v1. Luca manages to close out the kill over onto Corsair over in main. Bark on such low HP knows that he needs to claim the spike in main. Luca knows where the spike is as well, but is unsure about whether or not Bark decided to rotate off or not. HP does go towards Luca here. With that slight advantage, but with a weapon like the Bulldog, it might not completely matter. Bark needs to make a decision here, whether or not to commit to A. Luca is managing to clear everything.
30 seconds
Only
left.
one place left.
Hasn't picked up the spike just yet. Checking vents for the timing. Timing is missed. Luca has cleared every angle, but that might be exactly what's going to work in Bark's favor because you're not going to be expecting the CT push. The knife does come through, trying to find a suppress. Goes to run for the spike.
It was looking so close, but again, the timing is running down. And if you can't find Luca, then the spike's the next best bet.
Exactly. I mean,
so, yeah, I don't know.
you have to plan, otherwise you're just going to run out of time and the round is over.
Very interesting though. I was not really caring about the fact that there's a Vandal inside of WILLYG Palace. Turning the corner, one tapping with a right click of the classic, then getting another one. I mean, it worked for a while. They had sight, it worked really, really well, and then WILLYG Palace came back with full force.
Full force. Definitely full force, and managed to close out so many kills.
Yeah.
And claim a Bulldog and almost win the round, which really should not be the result.
No, exactly. That's the thing. Is if you're winning the first round, that really should not be how that second round is ending. But again, if you win the round, you win the round, right? That's all you can ask for. Very, very slow again.
Insanely slow.
This is what we found with 7F, and I don't think this attack's going to work well for the first half.
I think WILLYG enjoy going against a slow attack.
Yeah, because they have control. They literally are using them like puppets. And they have some set plays that it feels so natural to them to be doing this.
Yep.
Take flight.
Looking for that information over into mid. The 4-stack towards B side is going to make this a very difficult position to be able to push to. The flash will go through over into side, but doesn't find anyone due to everyone being sat in smokes. These smokes have worked out perfectly for the defense. Finds one, finds a second, goes for a third. Doesn't quite manage to close it out, manages to upgrade to that Vandal. The Stinger has been traded out. A Marshall to follow. 2 versus 2. Another smoke to close off that sightline.
One enemy remaining.
Will find him a headshot with a Sheriff over onto Hazard to close that out. And Deck has played the round of his life here, hiding in that smoke with a Stinger. Re-smoking, just holding that spike. Deck looking to get his third pick. When Corsair decides to be brave enough to grab that spike, but not looking the right direction, might get caught out here, and he is! Goes completely off the map, but the round is claimed by WILLYG due to the timer running out.
This is rough, because as I was saying, I think 7F needed that defensive start in order to be able to really get it going and get some rounds on the board to put some pressure on WILLYG. But at this point, I feel like WILLYG are really going to take this first half running and take those rounds with them, and it's going to get to the second half. Yeah, sure, 7F might get quite a few rounds, but at the same time, WILLYG are probably going to end up at least 6 at this half. And at that point, they can get, a few more after that.
Yeah, I mean, WILLYG having such an aggressive start, and also when buying only a Stinger last round as well, that's even more credits being saved. WILLYG have put themselves in such a good position for the next few rounds. But 7F have to be feeling the pressure here, surely. Especially when using pistols again. It seems to be always pistols on the side of 7F. The Outlaw comes through, takes down Koopfu nice and early. Ice Wall does get triggered by that Yoro clone first, though. And that wall getting triggered so early seems to be so detrimental in so many rounds.
Yeah, there's no way around it, right? You just have to wait it out. And it causes so much damage, mentally, physically. It cuts off that player as well. And it's just an all-round... That's why I think Vice has been working so well recently.
Yeah.
Like, sitting by himself. It's the sandwich.
Hazard does get picked out by Will. Deck to follow with the second.
B.
It's now 5. It's a 4 versus 1 because Waddle's a pick does to get that one tap over onto Deck from the side. But it's not going to be enough, especially when the spike is in such a disadvantageous position. Luca closing it out.
The fact that Deck is getting sandwiched and pinched from either like two from his own spawn and then 1 main, and he's still managing to get 2 and bring that round back for his team. I mean, he's holding down sight on his own.
Yep.
Perfectly fine. They can leave him to it be if he wanted to. Obviously, it's nice to play in pairs, and sometimes that can go wrong if you're playing on your own. But he's just so reliable. I mean, we've seen it throughout, yesterday and all of today. he's been on the top of the leaderboard the majority of the time.
Yeah. I mean, just where he lives at this point.
Yep.
He's just so comfortable up there. The pressure doesn't seem to get to him about it at all. Lukey taking an aggressive peek. Waddles a pig. Already goes down. Only seconds into the round. Trying to take this space for Hunter's Fury. Will be committed to try and find any damage over into Heaven, but nothing quite managing to be tagged out. Will looking for this angle, trying to deny the plant. Bark with the fastest reactions cancels his own plant to get the one tap over onto Will, take him down. Space being taken over into Heaven. Paranoia about to be committed. People trying to take the space, trying to take down Lukey, but doesn't manage to close it out. Corso with trade, though, manages to get 2 in one spray.
Last player
Deck takes you down. So much space has been found. Trying to jump out of a dimensional drift with a shorty, and it's not going to work out for you. You're going to get shut down in Corsa with a 4K to finally get 7F on the board in map 2.
I respect the play, but you're that close to him, he's just going to start spamming. The second you come out of that, oh, you are dead.
You are. I mean, the shorty does have the fastest pullout time in the whole game.
But
not when you're right in front of a barrel of a Vandal. I feel like just clicking left click on your mouse is still faster.
Lukey does still have that operator in hand though. And it's still looking good. And I'm glad that 7F has they're on the board, and now there's like confidence is probably starting to build up just a little bit. Enough to maybe start, winning a few more.
You are divided!
Cosmic Divide does get invested here. Lukey not feeling too confident about peeking through this wall with a dimensional drift behind him. He knows that you're close, whipping out a shorty of his own. Just try, jump out of that ultimate. Putting down a gate crash. The spike will be planted for sound not heard. It's going to be a full 5 versus 5 post-plant situation. Kubfu on a very aggressive angle here, just trying to hold down the fort, trying to buy some time. Everyone looking to just claim a little bit of space wherever they can. Utah being committed all over the place. Paranoia comes through. The site has been completely given up. WILLYG Palace have the entire site, but have to fight a 5-man main hold. Suppress will be denied. A few spams coming back and forth, trying to find that information. Deck taking down Bark. And then the trades come through, and it's down to a 3 versus 3, but blinds are coming through. The defuse is going to be committed. The spam's not managed to come through with a headshot. 1, 2, 3! Corsa takes down everyone like clockwork by himself to deny that defuse. It's such a beautiful demonstration of pure mechanical skill. Corsa 12 and 3. The only 2 rounds that 7F have claimed have been Corsa just popping off by himself. The most aggressive Sova I think I've ever seen.
I don't know
what amazing headshots.
You mentioned a 5-man main hold. There's 10 people still alive. The spike is going down. And I was going to say, look, it's not looking too great because you can't ping through smokes anymore, but it doesn't matter. The smokes went straight down. And Corsa, the fact that he's able to wide swing and take out the most important person who's defusing the spike. And then it didn't need to do any more than that. There was no time to defuse the spike, but no.
I get all 3.
And then we go
already
again.
another one onto Lukey. This might be Corsa's game. Really locking in now, just trying to keep 7F
in
the running for map 3. Corsa has to be playing with a massive smirk on his face after last round.
He did stop running as soon as he finished. But a little bit of a celebration.
Like, let the spike
there was
take
lots
me.
of shouts behind us in the hall as well.
I'm not surprised with a play like that. The entry is going to be committed over onto the A site. That wide flash like we talked about, don't worry, that was just the decoy falling off, but Corsa manages to find another headshot. Kubfu with 2. It's down to a 3 versus 1. And Deck will be taken down by a classic of all things when you're on a full buy. You know, you may as well.
I mean, the mentality is just complete switch.
It's completely
they have aggression.
It's what we asked for a map and a half.
That decoy, actually, I genuinely thought someone just walked off the map.
I saw the look on your face when that decoy went off the map.
Huh?
You convinced me for a split second, but he fell off. Even though we were watching him play, we were on Kubfu's POV and watched his own clone walk off. And you were so convinced, but I almost convinced myself. But not quite. But like you said, that aggression, it does seem to be working. And I think for 7F know that because they're going for that aggression again. Taking out the Arsenal. Allows for that aggression. So much more. Aldrone still coming through. Respecting the need for information. Hunter's Fury being invested from the side of WILLYG Palace. Does manage to find decent damage over onto 2 players over on 7F. It's going to be a 5 versus 5 on site again. Another Vice. Oh, it's going to be committed. Of course, finding the headshot, but Luca with the reply of a triple kill. Manages to find so much impact, looking to find even more. Luca needs to try not to overheat too much here. It's been a while since you've won a round. Some spams coming through, but a very late look from mid. And everything slows down completely. All sound has been cut.
He's just waiting.
With the flash, really selling this main push to help with that lurk, and the lurk does come through. Will falls down over in heaven. Flash coming out, but Luki shuts down that lurk. Kumpha, you're by yourself. Doesn't manage to find the spray. Luca claiming a 4K of his own to finally get another round for the side of WILLYG Palace. It is now 5-3.
Yeah, the issue is, okay, 7F started playing aggressive. It took WILLYG 1 round to readjust, and they're back again. And it's so impressive because they meet that aggression with aggression and then get a few kills and immediately put 7F at a halt. Like, oh, God, okay, calm down. Maybe we should play a little bit slower. And then that's when WILLYG get the advantage. Because, okay,
Exactly.
now they're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
They're too scared.
When you shut someone down in such an aggressive way,
Yeah.
it's kind of impossible to then take the next round with confidence. You've been shut down in such a manner. Bladestorm is going to get invested this round. Looking for impact, but Will with a spray transfer takes out Bark and Kufu so early on. The Hunter's Fury is going to come through and try to find that trade. 16 HP, manages to duck and weave. With his Aldrone, it's going to sell you out, and Waddles a Pig is going to take you down. It's a 4-on-3. You had a lot of impact for your team. You have to be coming out of this round happy. But Corsa is alone over on mid with Spike in hand. Man, just find the timing to get out safely.
He must have heard those footsteps.
The call has to have been made that it is 100% going to be an A push here. We have 2 players from WILLYG Palace trying to hold this heaven push together. A headshot coming through from Hazard. A lot of utils being invested. It's now known that A is definitely where things are about to go down. Look for these knife picks, only 3 remaining.
Look, he did send a fake phone.
30 seconds
from
left.
Waddles on that late flank, completely splitting up the side of WILLYG Palace here. 2 versus 3, it could be a pincer, maybe going for that heaven control. Only 16 seconds left on the clock. You've got to decide what you're going to do now because it's 2 versus 2 because Luke's just got that headshot from
Spike
main,
planted.
taking down Hazard. This backside plan is really important. Gives you a lot of space to play
One
with.
enemy
Walkie Chop
remaining.
manages to find a Vandal and spams through the smoke on a pure whim. And manages to take down Waddles the Pig. It's now a 6-3 scoreline. WILLYG Palace have managed to get their composure back.
And this is what I said. They got 6 now, right? So at this point, when 7F were on defense, WILLYG still got the same amount of rounds, right?
Yeah.
They still got 6 or 5 or 6. At this point, no matter what happens, WILLYG are going to hit double digits.
Yeah, 100%.
So the pressure is really on now to try and even out the scoreline to bring the best defense they can for the second half.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, 15-6 on Sova.
I know. I know.
Look,
It's so impressive.
Not even a Sova who's lurked for picks. A Sova who's entried for them and played beautiful post plans. A very aggressive mid take. This is the first time we've seen a push up through mid, which mid control on Abyss does hold a lot of importance. But it is a really difficult place to take, but Walkie Chop takes down Kufu with the Outlaw. Some util being invested there to try and find some damage. Waddles a Pig with what looked like a run and gun headshot over to Will. Some spam does come through, which Deck set himself up a one-way, which I've personally never seen on that angle before. Very impressive, but Walkie Chop with 2 kills to follow up, closing out triple kill for himself. 3 versus 1. Bark is alone. Backside on B with no spike. Opting for the aggression. Bunny hopping in. Knife in hand. Gets taken down. Walkie Chop with a 4K.
We saw them, they took a lot of space in mid, right? But it cost them a lot. There was 2 deaths in there by the time they had some sort of control. And at that point, was it really worth it? Because you're left with one man standing by the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's not the right play. If you're losing 2, probably best backing off.
Yeah,
Or at least,
definitely there.
working on trying to get a few more kills rather than pushing B, because it just wasn't working out.
It really wasn't. And
Who's
with that mid control,
Retrieving
we
flash.
said it was mid control, but really it was just walking up mid because no
Yeah,
pick was found
yeah.
and no supporting util. The Cosmic Divide is going to come through over on B side again. We've seen this work out positively. The Dimensional Drift is going to allow Kufu to find so much information just to support that play. Instead of a gate crash back into main, are we looking for history to repeat itself? Spike plan is going to be committed. The deck. Luki managed to shut that down, but the spike does go down first. It's 3 versus 3. Corsair is in main. But with a different spike plant this time. A bit more of a narrow angle. Spam comes through. Luki does go down. Luca with a trade. The op pick for the headshot. Hazard managing to find a trade of their own. Porkychop have to take the space, but Corsair is aware. But it's okay because Hazard turns around in time as well. 7-4. You have to really pray to manage to get that 7-5 scoreline.
They're doing a lot better now. They're starting to get a pick early on and using that to their advantage before they take site.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to be fair, they did alright during the 5v5 on B, but it's difficult. And I think they're using things, they're doing different things each time, and sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. You know, trial and error.
Yeah.
But we've got 1 round left. Few ults, not too many, but we're probably going to see, all of them be popped at some point. There we go.
There we go. The ultimate abilities are going to come online. A Dimensional Drift followed by every ult you can think of, to be honest. But it's going to go on pause until this KO ult does run its course. Deck manages to find a pick over onto Hazard, trying to shut things down. But Corsair has snuck up onto B. Get that plant down to 4 versus 3 with no players of WILLYG Palace over towards B. This has been a very strong fake for 7F. Porkychop not quite believing that mid is completely empty, sensing that there might be someone just lurking around a corner.
3 of them sitting in main. See those Astra Stars waiting and ready for any sort of tap on the spike.
Astrostar's ready, I believe. Also for Sova, Recon Dart is still not been used this round. A little bit of spam coming through from Luca. Numbers advantage and positioning advantage. And Kufu playing this so patiently, finds one, goes for a second, manages to find Porkchop. Followed by Bark. It's a 7-5 half for 7F.
Switching sides.
Going into this defense side.
Honestly, that's what they needed. I mentioned, trying to bring back as many rounds as possible. 6-6 would have been nice. 7-5 isn't the end of the world. Get the next 2 pistol rounds, you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's what they did last time. So now we're seeing, probably a bit more passive. I say a bit more. They were still playing quite passive on attack, but a lot more aggressive than they were in the first map.
Yeah.
They're probably going to sit back now, wait to see how WILLYG want to play this. They probably know that WILLYG won this map earlier on in the day, so their attack's probably, a little bit more refined. They want it to be. But just take it slow, take it easy. Although, maybe a 3-man push towards B?
It's looking like that 3-man push is
So
going to be happening. Looking
aggressive.
for that space. Finds the headshot over onto Luca, but gets taken down by Luki. Which is something we've noticed every Epic LAN where Luca and Luki are on the same team, is that they're so coordinated. But it hasn't stopped WILLYG Palace managing to have such a strong flank through mid over onto side. Will with a jump peek with Frenzy. But it's 2 pistol rounds in one match where a jump peek has happened and it's worked.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how I feel about it. But WILLYG Palace have so much strong positioning and space here. It's going to be very difficult for 7F to do anything, especially when Deck and Will are so coordinated in such a powerful way. And Luki finding another pick. It's going to be 8-5 to kick off the second half.
Yeah, and I think WILLYG might have known that 7F wanted to kind of play a little bit more aggressive on B. It tends to be the one that you want to go for more. So putting 2 decoy players almost at the front of B and allowing 3 of them to just basically sprint down mid through CT and onto B through that. It's just, I mean...
Very strong approach.
You're lurking with 3 players.
You are lurking with 3
Is
players.
it a lurk at that point?
Honestly, it's just pure, well-calculated Valorant at that point.
Yeah.
If we're completely honest. And what surprised me is 7F was so much stronger on their defense half in the last map. I thought we were going to go into defense on this map as well, and just feel like an unmovable object.
Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe that might change after, pistol rounds, but even so, it's a little bit late by then, right?
Way too late by that point. But with players like this, you never know.
True.
If anyone's going to bring a comeback out, it will be either of these 2 teams. They are our top 2 seeded teams for this tournament. They are the most closely matched teams that we have. Recon Dart will be denied. We're just trying to look for that setup, and the double kill comes through. Hazard managing to find one in the midst of that chaos. Also, with the 6th sense, manages to notice that Luca is pushing up onto B where there's been no sound all round. Manages to close one out, but is so scared of that mid-push which we've been seeing.
Left.
Steps out of smoke, looking for a peek, doesn't manage to find it, gets taken down by Deck. 3 versus 2, rifles versus pistols. 7F gonna have to pull out something special here to have a chance. Plant does go down. Lukey with a very aggressive hold in this smoke, finds one and goes for the second. Managed to farm up some stats over in that econ round.
It was meant to be their round, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but it's just these rounds, it's only goes up by 1. But then it's 2, and 3. And we're seeing 9-5 now, and that gap is just really starting to stretch. And the guns, to be fair, the gun advantage is looking good for 7F.
Yeah.
Really good. This is one of the furthest, 3rd rounds that we've had in terms of guns. Usually, WILLYG Palace end up with quite a decent amount, but ending up with a frenzy, it's not what you want to be.
No, it's definitely not the position you want to be in. Especially when you're against such an aggressive attacking team.
Very slow again.
I think everything's always incredibly slow with these 2 teams, but that's because of how deep of an understanding they both have of this game. They know that playing slow means that you force the other team to be the ones who overextend.
Yeah.
Imagine you find those gaps when you manage to find that impact. Outlaw shots are going to come through over into main. Hiding in the smoke, it's Waddles, but doesn't manage to find one. Lukey with the snap. Straight on. Waddle's head. Trying to deny that util. Doesn't quite manage to destroy the drone.
Spike planted.
Does get scanned. Recon Dart being committed, but that does give away your own position, Corsair. The attempt at the bait with the gate crash with the clone, you have to respect it, but it doesn't quite work out for you. Porky Chop with the Outlaw takes down Kubfu. WILLYG Palace playing this perfectly. Lukey with a second pick of his own. Porky Chop to follow. Lukey, can you find another? Corsair takes you down. If anyone's going to win this clutch, it has to be Corsair, surely, but you're playing against your own setup with that 4-man hold from main. With a frenzy just sneaking up, trying to find you with a beautiful one-tap, but gets taken down. After peeking into an absolute firing squad over in main. WILLYG Palace is just playing this attack so perfectly.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because the gun difference right there was everything for 7F, and now look at it. It's in shambles, really. The most we've got is 100 Fury possibly coming out to save some sort of, post-plant going on. Sorry, they're on defense, but maybe even a retake. But 10-5, that's double the rounds. That's got to hit the mental, right?
Flash placed.
100%.
Retrieving
Yeah.
flash.
Scan will be coming through. Does manage to spot out Luca.
Who's next?
Who is not phased at all and is carrying on with that mid-push. Dimensional Drift coming online. Waddles a Pig knows that he's been spotted in that smoke, knows that he has to back off. No aggressive hold this time. Lukey managing to just scare everyone off his sight, is allowing for such an aggressive take. Luca manages to find 2 kills over in mid. Goes for a third, but gets taken down with a headshot from Bark on the return. 4 versus 3 with gun advantage and spike down. Surely this round will go to WILLYG, but it doesn't mean that it's over for 7F. Because if anyone can clutch this out, it will be 7F to try and get that 10-6 scoreline. Util getting committed wherever it feels like it makes sense. For Molly going backside, but Luki manages to find a pick over to Corsa, followed by Porkychop with another. It's now a 1 versus 4 with only a Sheriff in hand. What can he do, really? Spams come through. Manages to find 2. Back to back, it's a 1 versus 2. What is a pig? I was going to say this has to be the round of your life, but you ran out of time to defuse anyway, and Deck's going to turn around and find that headshot onto you. You have to be chuffed with yourself to at least manage to find that much impact before getting taken down.
Yeah, exactly. It was high impact, very good job, but again, timing. And if the rest of your team's gone down, there's not much you can do. You try and get a few more kills, but the economy, it's not made a single dent.
No.
The money's looking good. Ultimates are now starting to, come over the horizon a little bit more. Very, very close. Maybe, Waddles maybe coming up soon as well. That ultimate could be impactful, especially on that retake. Trying to defuse that spike.
Could be very impactful, and we're seeing the same aggression from WILLYG. They fully just stack everything.
Hazard's fully set up with all those thorns.
Which, if there's someone you don't want to push into, it's a Vice who has thorns, with a wall, with a flash. Does get scanned. Slams go through, taken out through the smoke. It's Deck. Fury comes online, looking for some damage, not really managing to find anything. Porkychop takes down What is a Pig. Space is being taken. Bark manages to take back that link control. Looks for another, manages to drop that defuse down.
Spike down, B.
It's Bark again with another tap through the wall. 3 versus 1, Bark looking to find another to keep 7F in the running. Manages to find some damage. Deck is taken down by Corsa with the beautiful team coordination. That round was looking very dicey, and 7F managed to bring that back thanks to the help of Bark with such
but not to mention, I do believe a lot of damage was done there by that ultimate from Corsa. So, and just even pushing them out into the open so Bark can try and get as much as possible, and it works so well. Your teammates are working together. On that retake, it's so important, right? Because you can't do it on your own.
No.
And just forcing a bit of pressure onto WILLYG, and like you mentioned, the spike went down on that plant. So then you're like, oh great, okay. Now we can't even sit back and wait. We still have to try and get the spike down, and 7F is just waiting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you're forced to wait in such an uncomfortable spot,
I have the spike.
It's very easy to maybe fumble it. But both teams did actually stay so calm and collected, which is what I always find so impressive with watching these guys. The Vital is going to go through, it's going to take out those primary weapons. Trying to push everyone back on A, but they did manage to rotate off just before their weapons were taken away. Keeping those rifles online, denying those thorns.
Spike planted.
Over in heaven, it's going to be a full 5 versus 5 over on site again. Maybe for 4th time this match. What is a Pig with a flick over onto Deck, shutting down that attempt of a heaven space.
Concealment.
Surely here, you just got to try and get that aggression going through because the attacker's post plan is a little bit too strong. Spams coming back and forth as a trade, blow for blow, 1 for 1. 2 on 2, and Will jumps up and manages to take down Hazard, and Bark was down in backside, which does mean that WILLYG Palace are going to take themselves onto match point on a full rifle buy against 3 rifles and 2
Yeah,
sheriffs.
it's half. Well, I wouldn't say half buy, but they've. It's hard because at this point they can get 1 or 2 rounds, but I don't think WILLYG are going to allow any more than that. Certainly not the next 6 rounds, at least.
Definitely not
So,
going to allow 6 rounds.
As much as I have hope, of course, they're going 20 and 12. It's not looking great.
It's looking unlikely. Looking for this space, trying to just get that aggression early on, but it does get traded out. Jawless for Jawless, but Bark manages to come through and take down Luki as well. But like we said, Luca is never far if Luki's around. Them two are a very lethal duo to be peeking up against. It's a 3 versus 3. WILLYG Palace not in a great spot here. They are in a position where they're going to get pinned because Forces managed to push up so far on that flank.
That wall is waiting.
But Deck was aware and has even set up a smoke to support his own ultimate, but tries to come back out. Of course, managing to find that pick is going to put so much pressure on the backline there. You have numbers advantage, you have pressure advantage, you have more map control. You just have to play this right and you can keep yourselves in this game, make it 12-7. Spams are going through. Luca managing to jump out to keep that spike. It's now 3 versus 1. If the tap comes through into the headshot from Hazard through the wall. Full rifles retrieved. 5 more.
Yeah. I mean, another thing is, that hasn't really been mentioned, is the fact that 7F had an incredibly long best of 3 before this. Both teams went to third map in their best of 3s. However, WILLYG, it went pretty fast compared to the others, and they had quite a long gap to either rest, you know, or possibly play some more, get some more strats in and something like that. But 7F, it went on for hours.
Get out of my way.
And at that point, they didn't get
hours.
much of a break, and it's hard.
It does leave you in a position where you're starting to get a little bit exhausted, you're starting to feel tired, but you just have to keep yourself locked in. Although losing this best of 3 isn't you completely out of the tournament, you will only go into lower brackets and you can claw your way back up. Due to being committed, everyone blind on both sides. Lukey trying to find that space, frenzy in hand. Porky Chop managing to take down Kufu with the Blade Storm. Number advantage for WILLYG Palace are on. Bit of a messy buy. Shock dart coming through. Lukey just gets scanned out to resort to that gate crash to get out, stay safe. Like looking for the TP, manages to get through. Doesn't manage to get spotted out. Gets bark from the flank as a 3 versus 3. Also manages to get shut down by Lukey. What's the pick with 2 picks of his own. It's now 1 versus 1. Managing to stay in just about the last second. Hasn't managed to take down Pork Chop. That was getting very dicey. WILLYG almost closing out map 2 on a frenzy Sheriff buy.
We are getting very, very, you know, close to those rounds again that we had in the first map where we're getting 1 or 2 people left alive. But like you mentioned, they had frenzies and sheriffs.
Yeah.
But they're having a round that close with such a small buy. I'm not too sure how well this round's going to go.
It shows how strong of a team WILLYG Palace are.
Exactly. The buy doesn't matter.
And part of what will be helping WILLYG Palace is the fact that if the rumours are right, I've not gone over to check myself, but we have heard that Rudy has made his way over into Epic Land, now having experience as the assistant coach over at 100 Thieves, has come over to coach WILLYG Palace, right?
Yeah, we'll have to confirm.
Why are we getting such creative strats? If it is true, we'll have to go over and check that for you. Hunter's Fury is going to come through, followed by the Shorty. Corso managing to find that headshot over onto Lukey to shut that down, but not before he's able to get a pick of his own, avoiding this paranoia, taking so much damage from the Thorns. Manages to shut down that topside push. 3 versus 2, 7F. Have to be feeling that pressure now, especially with the MVP of your team getting knocked down. You managed to find one, but you're taken out with that headshot. Luca committing the ultimate here. It is avoided. Hazard managing to keep that rifle online. Would not have been able to do much considering his secondary is only a Shorty. Through looking for that space, doesn't check his corners. Luca takes you down with a headshot. It's going to be a 13-8 scoreline. 2-0 to WILLYG Palace, and 7F will be going down into the lower brackets.
It's so unfortunate. They worked so hard to get to this final, but someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's Seed 1 versus Seed 2
Yes.
in the upper bracket finals.
Exactly.
I mean, it doesn't mean that they won't play again.
Oh no, I mean they're going to go down, and I'm sure they have a very good chance of getting back up again.
Yeah.
Because they're C2 for a reason.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows?
You've already proved how strong of a team you are. Try not to let this affect your mental. Go into the lower brackets. Try for that comeback run.
Exactly.
You know, we're probably going to see you on stream very soon. So we're going to have some more lower bracket games for you today. But this does mean that WILLYG Palace will be going into grand finals.
Yeah, again.
Again, for the second Epic in a row. They did win last Epic.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're on track to maybe making this their second in a row. Maybe starting to build their Epic Land dynasty over here in this great Valorant tournament that we have here. But that is, you know, that's kind of everything which we have for you right this second. We are going to be taking a 15-minute break before going and taking a look over into those lower bracket matches to go and see who is going to be coming back to try and take on WILLYG Palace again in the future. So don't go too far, and we'll be right back.